Hello, welcome to another episode. It's been a little while, but I'm lucky. Today. I have joining me Jiri Sladic, and I don't know if I pronounced your surname right there, but perfect. Great. My Czech is great because Jiri is the owner of Metaphore Brewery from Czechia. I think maybe not a very well known brewery, but definitely among those who know it. It is very highly valued, very respected brewery. And I actually came across Metaphor, I think about 2 or 3 years ago. You were in Leuven, and I remember whatever beer it was, I think it was a spelt lager or something, and it was totally blew me, totally like it was a really just a brilliant beer. And since then, I've been kind of signed up for the subscription and all of that. So we'll get into all of that. But Jiri, first, thanks for taking the time. I know you've been kind of busy lately with new arrivals. So maybe we could start with Metaphor as it currently is. I mean, what is Metaphor? What makes it different, and what are you trying to achieve with it? And then maybe we can go into the path you got to get there.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, thank you, Brian, for having me. It's a pleasure talking to you, and it strikes me very warmly that just how you like that the beers, like from the first impression, they had impact on you or something. That's just maybe I do not know how to describe a metaphor. I do not know even if I could call myself a brewery or even a business because the business sometimes it feels like, yeah, is it really a business? Or is it just kind of this irrational project, but I would say I would have to consider myself as a brewery, even though I don't have my physical like brew house. I try to outsource the brewing to different breweries that I became close to. They are generally like 1, 2, 3, but most of them is at one brewery. And just because to justify a brew house for my small production, it's just it's not like in how to say, it would not be economically viable. And just I started everything with super low amount of money, with nothing, and just putting things together slowly. And the main focus is just making the most how to say beautiful beers, or that's what I would consider beautiful, that they touch me like deeply, that they are like touching beers. And maybe it's the same way, like, and as you said, like, oh, blew me away, but I don't necessarily want to blow away people in order, like, oh, super expressive or super, but there is this something, I don't know, something that the je ne sais quoi quality that is just this difficult to describe. And I like to since I've self-described myself recently as a esoteric beer artist, I think I go with that. Uh, I like this sort of magic. That's something intangible. That is difficult to describe, put into words, but when it's there,
Yeah.
you know what it is. And we don't have to speak about beer only. It could be about anything. It's just this special something. So this is like basically that's what I seek, and that's what I strive for. And in the end, yeah, so there's like beers with some touch of magic. And although they are much more, I would say some people would describe me as like sour brewer, or like this kind of put me in a box of everything. I would say, even though it's true that most of my beers I would say the technique, how I approach my beers is not, is a technique. How I make my beers is an answer to why I make the beers, because I make I don't make beers that I make because they are uh, how to say, well received, or they are trendy now. For example, it was never it never occurred to me. I just I was interested in making those beers even way before that kind of became like more trendy and hype, and now the hype is slowly like going down, and it's like the wave of up and down. This is not important for me. Because I like traditional beers. When I got into beers, the beer scene was so different than is now,
Right.
and I like the classic beers. And I live in Czech Republic. Very much admire classic lager culture, even though you could say it's very distinct from what I do. So I like the inspirations. Like this is the amalgamation, my let's say approach, philosophy, amalgamation of inspirations coming from let's say traditional beer culture, like also lambic beers from Belgium, spontaneously fermented, and saisons. These kind of uh, let's say I would say, yeah, outliers, and of course, natural wine, because that I would say that shapes my philosophy a lot. The way how the thinking is quite different. The mindset
Yeah.
uh, I feel is different. So, and maybe we can talk about it because I find it like quite distinct. So this is amalgamation of principles, but I feel they have something in common because for me, I want to have beers that are authentic. I like the authenticity, not sort of the squeezed one, like because it's gonna sell better or like I'm
Right.
trying to position myself as different. You ask what makes me different, as like I could come up with many things that I would think comparing myself against somebody which I do not necessarily like, but I would say it's more like I'm longing for the sense of authenticity for myself, and what I produce has something to say. Maybe it's not super, it's in a way like some originality behind it, not necessarily a novelty. And I link everything to how to say my where I live, my sort of the land, the terroir, the French word that's used a lot in wine. So this the beers that I produce should ideally be a reflection of time, place, and be sort of unique, irreplicable. You know how to say culminations of time and place, and also my worldview, my ideas. And I mentioned the word mindset. That's just I lots of the philosophy and thinking of what the beer means and what I want to express, my certain take. I put into the word into the beer. So it's very, I would say, deeply personal project. And the more I think about it, even though I really hate it to coin it like art, I think it's more than this art. I think that's what my soul, my heart wants, so,
Yeah.
and it's very difficult to quantify it as a business and see and convince other people to see the world with my eyes, but I nonetheless I try, because I have a very uh, how to say honest vision. It's I don't necessarily want to impress you. I just express what's around me, and as it happens many times, the most impressive things in life are the most ordinary in a way, like that's so this kind of also like I try to find extraordinary in the ordinary.
Okay.
That's how I think about it. It's more like a philosophy driven project, and from that it stems how I use certain technique, spontaneous fermentation, local organic ingredients, and that I believe building these are the building blocks for that come from the philosophy that I have for the beers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, listening to you there, you're putting it on, like I said, philosophy, and what what I get from, and anybody who's signed up to your, seen your emails or describing the beers that are coming out. I mean, you put a lot of thought into just trying to describe those beers. Like I said, it is a very I don't know, is thoughtful beer is kind of a good enough description. That there's a lot of thought
Hopefully,
behind what
hopefully,
you're. Yeah,
hopefully, but maybe my mind is just too chaotic, and I'm not capable to be succinct enough to because I actually learned the art of like being saying less, doing less, and this is as I get older. Uh, I try to do less, but with more intention. You
okay,
know, and it goes back to beers also, and also maybe also trying to be, let's say, more because it's really hard to express yourself in such a manner that without really cutting away many things you wanted to convey, and it takes practice, and maybe and also the same way with when I come to creation of my beers. It's just lately like every it's like very slow journey, but like every season, like a year, I feel like I want to do less. I want to cut away this. I want to stop doing this. I want to just focus less and less on. Yeah, I just like trying to do less, but like be more thoughtful about it because
right.
it's so that's maybe. Yeah, I just I'm too chaotic and I just slowly, slowly becoming more chill. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it sounds at one level when you're trying to describe it, it sounds like how does it relate to beer? Because it is very hard to describe, but I think it does come across when you taste the beers and you taste and you see what you recommend. That they when they're drunk, that they're drunk with friends to be enjoyed. And the thought you put into it comes across, and it is very hard to describe until you actually taste the beers how that does relate. I think it is someone just has to taste because the beers are. I mean, they're mainly, like you said, spontaneously fermented, which to most people implies very sour. But these are very subtle. That like everything I've had anyway. I think the the temptation, I think, for a lot of people who to go with the spontaneous beers is they overload them with fruit or they overload them with something. Whereas yours are very subtle. You can get the layers of taste, which is not always the case with spontaneous.
Is it? I don't know, like how to. I'm glad you say this subtlety, or maybe like the word I like to. I mean, I would like to be known for is elegance,
Okay.
because maybe something like this. This because I feel like, uh, yeah, that's what I like. That's what I like. Elegant, maybe not necessarily subtle, but I think for me as an artist, it's much more challenging and like stimulating intellectually, or like for a brewer, erring on a side of subtlety rather than intensity, because that's although for a normal consumer it could be less interesting, for me it's just becoming more interesting trying to play with nuances rather than like intensity, because
Right.
intensity feels like it's zero sum game, and the subtlety and nuances, I feel, it doesn't mean that putting less, like something, like I think like with everything, it's just there's a right amount, and when you overload something, you put more. For example, if you're adding more and more fruit into beer, it's just it becomes, I feel like not giving beer justice. I feel like it's not respectful to the concept of beer itself. Even though, mm, I like it and I think it could be, how to say, wonderful, beautiful, but using beer as an excuse for, uh, as a vehicle for fruit, is just sounds like lame to me, and I think I find it that's how I find it like very, how to say, disheartening. That's when I see that how the super high fruit, how brewers brag about like how much fruit they put inside, and
Yeah.
it feels like I put more than you, and just it's just like, it's like, I mean, just and almost sometimes feels like, don't worry, you will not taste any beer, it's just fermented fruit. And it just
Yeah.
feels like, what's the point then? It should be like this kind of, that I sometimes say it in the emails, it's like, I believe like 1 and 1 should always be 3. And it's just it's like many times the people don't get it, like it's just like 1 and 1 should always be 3. If you put two things together, it should somehow like be this beautiful
More.
marriage, like two people together, like good partners. Like, yeah, you can build and just be just way bigger than that, or like much more interesting. And the interplay
Yeah.
actually is interesting. The separate components, as good they are, the interplay is interesting. The same way, like the relationship, it's not like, yeah, it's like, it feels like it's just like everything is in the universe is the same, like that. These principles work. I feel that it's just like, I don't know, like just super intense. It's boring to me. Although I know that it's good marketing and good business strategy to do what works, but I
Yeah.
would I would I would shoot myself in the foot if I did that. Just in a way, it's just that's just I feel there is. I don't know. Just I find it lazy to me. I would not be happy with me. And
Right.
if I created this I don't know, clickbait beer, I always try to infuse the my thinking into it. And also, Brian, maybe it just comes back to the culture. It's just because I with what I do, I have my unique take, and just then I think that just cultivates the world around me. It's just that I like this slow approach, slow culture. Uh, I believe it's missing
Yeah.
in general nowadays. Just everything is too fast, and people are overstimulated. And I like to promote this, let's say, I would say slow culture, because the beer culture, or like especially the beer geek culture, that where my beers usually end up, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. It's just
Yeah.
it's I don't know, like people, like it's such a always extreme. It's like we
Yeah.
taste 50 bottles at once, everybody gets little sip.
Yeah.
People
Everybody.
chase super expensive trophy beers only, and it becomes like this again, rat race. And I don't want that. I think it's just like it's best to sort of like find a nice opportunity, like invite a friend, make a dinner, or just like open a nice bottle on the Tuesday evening, and it could be it. It doesn't have to be special occasion. It could be that's yeah, kind of.
No, that matches up. I mean, I've had this chat with a number of people, like the whole untapped culture where you have one beer, never taste it again because you're just another beer, a different one, a different one, a different one, and then, like you said, the breweries start. They have to chase something new every time, so they have to go more and more extreme to get the
I understand, but
like.
I understand this because we as humans are wired this way. We just the novelty is important. It keeps us curious. Like our attention span is shorter and shorter, and like
Yeah.
with the constant novelty, and the intensity is it's like the high dopamine triggers. It's just I understand why is it, but it's not sustainable, and I believe it's not like the really. I mean, if you want to do it, do it. But I believe people who do it, or like this culture, they miss actually a lot of beautiful things they're gonna miss out on. I think, and I believe just sometimes it's good to go fast and go crazy. But like also, I believe uh, we have got enough of it. So my voice is like, come on, like be deliberately a little bit slow, intentional, but like not in like some super pretentious way. But like I try to cultivate this principle in my life because I also like live a hectic life. We live in a city now. We have two kids, and I try to run a business. I want to do a lot of things, but like I have to constantly remind myself, slow down, calm down. Yeah, I mean, you know, like, and and these beers are maybe like these kind of invitations. Oh, it's not only beer when I drink my beer. Every time when I open a nice bottle from other brewers, it's just always like nice, pleasant. I don't know, with dinner,
Yeah.
and you have a nice conversation with wife or a friend, and that's it. It's just kind of, you don't have to always boom
Yeah.
boom boom.
That sounds a bit like what you mentioned there a while ago, and I don't know if this is part of the background, but the wine influence. I mean, that is how people treat a bottle of wine. They'll, sit down with friends or whatever. They'll have it, and it's not a constant chasing. Whereas, with it is a different culture than beer for some reason I don't understand. But that sounds more. You mentioned that you're into
I would
wine.
say, I think let's not romanticize wine either, because they also have it, and there are like hype chasers everywhere, and people
Yeah,
are try to collect wines and sit on
that's true.
way too much wine than they will ever be able to drink, and it's everywhere. But I would say I find it I find it like different mindset. Like, actually, that's just more. I don't. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. I cannot. Wine people always correct me. That's like, because maybe I lack the insight, like deep insight into the wine. But like the part of the wine industry I know, and the people I know, and the winemakers I know, I feel it's different. It's just there is this more leisure, as much intentional they are about producing the wines and like, or caring about them. When they open it, it suddenly becomes this leisure activity, and it's more about it's not always about geeking about the flavors. I feel
Yeah,
that's just it. It could be just a pleasant product to enjoy. That's what I strive for. It's just, I believe, uh, it's good to have something beautiful, but it should not be the sole focus of the evening. Like drinking this wine or drinking this. I don't know, because if maybe it's just because it feels like work to me. It's just, and I don't want to work when I when I enjoy myself. It's just I don't know. It's me.
yeah.
Whatever.
So what is the background, by the way? Like, how did you end up brewing beer? Well,
How did I end up? Do you know that actually my surname means a beer brewer in Czech?
no. Ah,
Oh,
well, then you had to. Okay.
so I guess it's coded in my name. So I guess it's a long time ago. My ancestors had to be brewers to carry this surname, and but no, I think because I was a long time home brewer
Okay.
for many years, so long it feels like, I don't know, century ago, honestly. And but I got into the beer when I lived in the UK. It was 2007. So, and then it was, at that time it was just the craft beer scene was like kind of, I would say, starting, and I was exploring. Basically it was a rabbit hole, and I got into it super fast and get very obsessed about it. And then very shortly I started homebrewing, and from the very beginning I started making the beers that I could not make, or I could not get,
Okay.
or like these, I don't know, and it always were somewhere close to me, like these I don't know, wild beers, spontaneous, lambic. It was like almost impossible to get like some of these beers. It was
Yeah.
difficult, or just maybe was not difficult, but it was not absolutely, definitely not readily available. And I don't know, it's just always there was this urge to make something like this. And over the years, I would say I was just tinkering, playing around, and long story short, then I kept always thinking I would like to make it professionally, but um, maybe just by making it professional, I just ruined a good hobby for myself. Which my favorite beer is still is a homebrew, because loads of homebrewers, they make phenomenal beers, like honestly, like world-class phenomenal beers on a super small scale. It's regardless of the style. I feel some they are like super dedicated. They have such a good equipment. Usually nowadays, you can have pro brewery set up in your garage, and so I have a lot of respect and very fun for homebrewing and fond memories of. They are like they so that's it came from the homebrewing.
Yeah.
Yes, just
Yeah.
and then
But like you said, turning that, like I said, it's one thing if you're brewing it for yourself and your friends, but the big problem is then if you're brewing it and you have to sell it, that becomes a whole other,
yes, it's
problem.
I was never a businessman at how to say well, it's not my primarily skill to be a salesman or businessman, even though people tell me that like through my talking skills that like I could be a good businessman or whatever. But it was just pure passion, and it was an outlet to me, and I just like, and there was a lot of people who just kept telling me I should do it, and it was this kind of expectations, external expectations, and internal expectations, and also like, and to be honest, lately when I think about retrospectively thinking about it, I'm like, like I could not have chosen more complicated actually business. I'm sure there are more complicated businesses, but man, like in terms of business or like what I have to create, what I have to sacrifice in order to make the beers, I feel like it's like crazy town. It's just I. But it makes you like, man, it makes you grow so much. It makes you learn things about yourself, about people, but it's just, I don't know, it's just fascinating. I'm glad, but it's just super hard as a business
You
to
wouldn't like.
run.
Would you start it now if you knew you what you know now?
I still would, but maybe it's very difficult to always like yeah to judge retrospectively. But I think I was more naive when it comes to, we all I guess are naive when we start
Yeah.
something. But was very in lucky position actually, and still I am. It's just the beers are. My main focus was always the beer, the quality of the beer, and still is. And just maybe because of that, even though loads of business aspects I could improve or like do, I believe that just if the product is really good, then it will always have an end customer. But I realize when you run a business, you also have to run the business like as a structure, because you can have the best product in the world, but it's not
Yeah.
enough always. It's just that's what me, the artist inside of me, is little little sad, or tired. This is like, oh, the art should be enough, but it's not. It's just
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, there's the thing you love doing, and then you end up doing less of that, and all the bookwork
Exactly.
and all
Ex-
the
Exactly,
grind.
because many times just I have to do so much stuff I hate so much.
Yeah. Like sitting down
Like,
just doing
oh my,
taxes.
and I cannot, and because just I cannot afford to, like, for example, outsource it to somebody else, so I have to suck it up. So I keep
Yeah.
making, so this makes me think like, man, like, why is it really worth it? And but then I opened the bottle after 3 years, and I was like, yes, it's good. And the same thing when you have a kid, and it's just sleepless nights and like all their
Yeah.
tantrums, meltdowns, being sick and everything, but like one little smile and
Yeah.
everything is fine, like it's worth it. So
Yeah. So that's exactly how you think of the beers.
that's
I
how I
mean,
think about beers.
yeah,
They're
it's a
like
cliche. I know they're your children, but
in a way, yes, in a way they are a little bit, because I do everything myself, so they are really projection of myself. It's not like in a big brewery that the sales team says, hey, we need more
yeah,
fruit beer for this Czech client, and we like a marketing team will come up with this, and it's I would say it's very deep connection. I feel like a lot of good wines and winemakers, they have it. They have the winemaker imprinted into in because it's inevitable, because for example they are most of the times they are just one person or like few people doing it, or like he's the winemaker, or he or she, they are the driving force, or like the heart and brain behind it, and their hands also. And so it's inevitable, and maybe the brewing process is much more. Breweries, I would say, at least at certain size, it's inevitable that there is more people involved.
Yeah.
So that's why maybe there's less opportunities for to leave that imprint, and and over time it becomes more practical,
Yeah.
and how to say, practical for the market, practical for the people, and over the time that just maybe, and there's nothing wrong with that, because it could be perfectly beautiful, tasty product. But I believe that when we go back to the magic we spoke at the beginning, or when I spoke about it, it's I believe it's like it's gonna be, let's say my I have like my standards are like high risk, high reward, high magic, and like big unpredictable, big and also high practicability. It's just not. So I believe that's just it's because of this. It could be good and bad, I believe. So there is a room for the magic to be part of the product,
Right.
and if I would say, if it's made on a huge scale and it becomes just, then it's, I would say, maybe the magic slowly evaporates, but I cannot quantify it. It's just the feeling from the product. Like I feel like it's perfectly fine. It could be very tasty, but I believe the best wines, they have a certain edge, and you cannot say it's this volatile acidity, or it's this aging, or whatever it is, or this, it's something. And I believe it's the idiosyncratic things happening there for whatever reason, or it could be this personality flaw of the winemaker, because they, and it creates this kind of something. And I believe when it becomes, you know what I'm trying to say. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. There is an intangible factor in it that just
intangible
comes from.
factor, and there's like maybe this because I do everything alone. That's why it's just it's inevitable that the beers, at least I hope, they have this.
Personality.
But I would say personality, and also what I like to that beers have the energy somehow. Like it goes beyond flavor. It's not about. I would say beer people are obsessed about flavors, or like descriptors, or but it's not about the flavor, I would say, or mouthfeel. It's just how it feels, rather than how it sits on the palate. Is it medium body,
Yeah. So it's not a
light
technical
body,
thing; it is an
like
emotional.
apricot flavor, a little bit stone fruit, yeah, a little bit vanilla, and people many times when I make beer, and there's deliberately used very little amount of fruit just as a touch to kind of round it up, but
Yeah.
and people complain, yeah, I would have preferred if there was more fruit. Yeah, but it's not the point. It's just not about. It's always it's like, but how it feels, how
Yeah.
does it feel, how do you feel when you drink it, rather than like chasing the scriptures. That's
Yeah.
so it should, I that's why I don't even focus on what I taste. It's just how it feels when I drink it, and if it feels good, then I like it. It's just
Yeah. No, I guess in a way, I mean, that's put much better than what I was saying about subtlety. But that's what I was trying to get across. Like none of the beers are overpowered. There are layers, and they all kind of work together, and they all work, and they give you would know it's your beer because they're so.
really, would you
Well, I haven't done a blind tasting, but I think I would. I
Yeah,
think,
okay.
but I haven't blind tasted anything. So I mean, I don't know. I know I'm drinking your beer.
A blind tasting is incredible hard. It's just I many times we think we know, but like, oh god, the
Yeah,
blind
maybe I
tasting.
wouldn't. Maybe it is all because, like what you've said. It's the bottle. It's the obviously the occasion. Obviously influences however you taste anything. You know, I mean, if you're in a good mood, it tastes much better than if you're in a bad mood. But if I've
Absolutely.
had yours, and then I've had your emails, which have described what you're trying to do with the beer as well. So
I
maybe that
believe
all.
it's important. I believe it's
Well,
important because the context is important. Because if you approach it only in the from the position of blind tasting, then the most super intense, most bizarre, most weird will you will notice it, and because but it's hard. But I believe having context, knowing the story, knowing the intention of the brewer, why be super hard on ourselves? Because let's say that and know everything just by a tasting, it's just impossible. We would have to be this I don't know what is this machine called, gas chromatograph, that
right.
sort of analyzes
Yes.
everything on the molecular level. Well, no, it's just I believe the context is the key, and it's the same way like when you see a picture or like a movie, and like the background behind it, and what they are trying to say or express, or it's just makes the difference. Or like when I think about it, like when you are presented a picture and it's just like, oh, and you see, what do you think about it? And you're like, yeah, I don't know, it's nice. And when somebody says, yeah, but somebody draw it with their legs, not with arms, it's like, because it's like, oh wow, I mean the whole context changes, and you cannot uh, just understand how is it possible that they are capable of doing that. And just I believe that's just it's important having the context.
Yeah.
Although the product itself, the story behind it should not be the only thing to
Yeah.
justify its existence. It's just should be good enough anyway. It's just
Yeah. No,
for some
it's something. I mean,
context, I feel, is the key.
yeah, it's something I've never quite understood about beer competitions where it's all very technical. That it's if it's in this category, then that flavor is great, but if it's in another category, it's an off flavor. And it's not, it's the same beer.
Well, but I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I mean, you could be a hairy dude, and like, if there would be hairy, you would have a hairy wife. I mean, it's just, it's,
Yeah,
you wouldn't like that. No, I mean, it's just, but I believe beer is very technical driven product. And I believe a lot of the brewers are super capable and very technical. I would say it's technical driven product or technical driven industry, and the best beer is considered like the most precisely executed beer.
right.
And I would say the competitions can judge it. You can somehow maybe create a score sheet and judge it as they do. But I believe in real world, the most perfect things are actually not the best. To me, definitely, because usually the best things, they have some edge or some flaw, like minor flaw here and there, and together create this unique. Like that's it's like having a friend, and he says of every time what you want to hear. It's like, yeah, you're saying the right things, but this is not what you should say.
It's boring. Yeah, it
Yeah,
just gets boring after a while.
and I find actually that's what I find, that the most, to me actually, the most, lots of beers on the market nowadays, because people are so good. Uh, they have a great technology, great equipment. They are very good. They are super skilled brewers, but the beers, I feel like if they would be less perfect, they would be more sexy, like, and that's why I always find like the most attractive beers that they have something. But I would say you cannot even say it is a flaw. It is. It is. I would. It's not like, oh, there is a too much diacetyl. You want to taste too much diacetyl, for example, or like vinegar, or like some volatile flavors. No, but if it's there in some amount that's just kind of like beyond threshold, but it's just, it
Yeah.
creates this little edge, makes it, oh. And I believe it's about world is never perfectly smooth.
Yeah.
Everything is like little. That's why but maybe it's just me, because I have such a affinity to this kind of rustic, little bit raw flavors. I don't like everything too polished, too. It's just everything's so polished. Then it's just basically nothing left, and I find it boring. I like you need a little bit of dirt, a little bit of roughness, but in a good one, the good
Yeah.
way. I mean, just and it could be flavors, it could be people, it could be whatever, and it also creates emotions, because if it's the perfect things creates this perfect effortless experience, and effortless is the word, and I would say it is effortless. I see it everywhere. Everything is trying to be for the consumer effortless, and they gonna get rewarded with that effortless uh yeah, with effortless experience. It's just so smooth. It's just you will almost not notice it. It's just, I don't know, it's just, I believe if you make effort, also it's like in life, the more effort you put into something, usually the bigger reward you feel or you get, because you cannot if you didn't have to work hard for your money, you would not value them. If you just get them, because you would just get them and spend them, and you would not feel anything. So that's why I feel there's just this effort. There should be, not make it too easy for people or for ourselves. That's just, there should be a little bit of friction.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like in a good relationship. There should be just a little bit of friction, but not too much. Then it's trouble. And the same way, like with beer, how I think about it, it's just there should be just enough friction that just keeps you a little, maybe not uncomfortable, but yes. But you are comfortable, but somehow it's
Yeah.
like stimulating, and I love it, and it's very difficult to do. I'm not saying I'm executing it perfectly, but that's what I strive for, and this is a guiding philosophy for me, and in life, that's how I think about it. So it's just really how I think about it. How I think about life is really translated into the beers. But so we talk mostly now just 40 minutes about philosophy rather than
Yeah. So yeah. So
how
so
I
yeah.
how I make them. But
But,
what was the
but
most
that is interesting, though. I
beer
think that's like
then?
you do hear some brewers talk about their philosophy and the idea behind it, but like you said, a lot of it is, you know, a lot is brewed to what the market wants, and it's manufactured rather than kind of brewed. So it's interesting to see someone who's got a perspective, and they're trying to they have an idea behind what they want to do, and they're trying to make that in the form of a beer, basically.
You don't wanna. This is like if you have a friend, you wanna have a friend that has a pleasant character, but you don't wanna have a pleaser friend.
Yeah,
Just he will do. It's just like, I believe that's just. It's like uh, I want to please people, but not to be a pleaser. I'm glad you are pleased with the flavors and everything, but I'm not doing it solely that you be to please you. And I believe that there are certain way in order to appease people, and I believe it creates this kind of, I'm gonna be so effortless and so not edgy and so smooth, so I will not ruff anybody's feathers. Everybody will like my product, and it's just boring. And there's enough of it in the world. There's too much. We live in a time of overabundance and overproduction of everything. And I believe the authenticity that people, I believe everybody wants to have something inside of them to express. It doesn't have to be product, but I want to. This is what I like to cultivate in myself and encourage others, that like bring out what you have inside of you and put it out there. It doesn't have to be a product. We all have something, because in this way the world would be much more interesting. We would be benefiting from each other's, like, I don't know, unique perspectives, rather than being the, like, sheep herd mentality. Uh, I believe the world is. I think it just comes back to the same thing, mindset. Like, I hate so much the pleaser mentality. I cannot stand it when it comes to business. I understand that I cannot respect it. The when you want to be like this. I mean, yeah, as people say, but people say, oh, it
Yeah.
sells, But it's like, yeah, so what? I mean, you can make money in so many ways. Don't you want to make them the way when you look back and say, I'm so fucking proud that I made the money this way, rather than like caving, to
Yeah.
please everybody. I don't know. I just don't have respect for this approach. So it's just that's why I admire everybody who is. Relentless and not giving up and trying to do their own thing, and I like to support that. So
Right.
I don't know, that's the jaded brewer talk.
No, it's good, but like I said, we talked philosophy. Can I just ask you about
Please.
the production of the beer itself? Because I mean, one of the things that it takes you a year. You only produce basically two batches a year because of you take that long to make them. So like you I don't know, is you have this subscription kind of membership one, which I personally am a member of, and I know like there will be beers coming out sometime in the next few weeks. But I signed up to that like a year ago, and I don't know what the beers were. It's just I signed up because every other beer I had from you was great, so I was going in blind, but I was happy to. And I don't know how many members you have, but I mean, how does that process work? How did you end up on this process of membership? Is that how you're selling most of your beers? Because you also do subscriptions, like you do have some distribution, but
Yeah, but that's I don't know how to answer it really, because it's just as life itself. It's a fluid. It keeps changing, and and also when I started, I was different than I'm now. It's also like I think about it a little differently. But like the whole idea was, because I live in a place in Czech Republic that there is zero market for this style of beer. I
okay,
mean, I would love to sell it only locally. That I will open my door, people come. I would not have to rely on hype, or like, I would love that, if that to live in a place and give it for community of people that are around me. But then we live in a internet age that just it's I mean, so if I don't have the community I would like to have around me, I can find it around. But it was actually it was very organic. I didn't think about it, but even before I was even making the beers, it's just all like just at the very like infant stages of the business, even before like the first when I did the annual membership announcement, people kept writing me from all around the world that they are interested in the beer, from all European countries, United States, Asia, like, and it's like I was like, wow, okay. And my idea is I don't. My philosophy is that I don't choose my customers. I don't prioritize. I don't want to prioritize you over somebody else here or different country. I love everybody who is enthusiastic about what I do, and I try to just get the beers to them. So I say the customers choose me. I don't choose my customers, and so I try to be as egalitarian for everybody. Try to make it as easy for everybody to get it, and it just and was the nature of. I don't know. It was very organic. That's how I
right,
started. And at the beginning, I had like my production is super small, so I make like 10,000 bottles a year. I make 10,000 bottles a year, and more or less, it's just change. It could be 11, 12, like
right,
this, but more or less this amount. And There was a phone calling and I lost my train of thought. It's a. So I mean, the membership became like this organic creation, and I what I really intend with it is like to have a community about of. Because I really long for the community around that. I would love to have like my local community and connect over the beers and have a good time, and also maybe even without me you have a good time, and it's just great that this would happen. But unfortunately it's really, how to say, fragmented, because you live in art. Well, where
Yeah.
do you live? In Belgium?
I live in Belgium, but I am Irish.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so you live in Belgium, and other people live all different places. So, and I want to cultivate this sort of like, yes, I want, yeah, community around it, rather than it should be like, how to say, yeah, that's what I long for. I realize I want to have a like community of like, uh, you don't say friends because it's just difficult to maintain super close relationships, but like this kind of like maybe closer, not just cynical, how to say, not just cynical, here's the money, there is the, I don't
yeah,
know,
not transactional.
not exactly, not transactional. It should be like fostering a little bit something like, I don't want to like make it too deep, but like, yeah, little like like connecting over it, and that's what I like. And with some people, actually, I've became friends with lots of members. They are fantastic enthusiasts, of these beers. They are like some fantastic people. So, and it's very easy to connect with, just not over the beers only, but just, I don't know, generally, like so that was the whole idea. And it's difficult because many people jump in only because of the hype. They want just the transaction, they just don't want but it's okay, that's okay. But and also, like, lately as I think about it, I just don't like this exclusivity too much, although my whole idea is I want to reward the people who are the, let's say, the longest supporters, or like the, I would say, the true fans, or like the strongest fans. I honestly want to create something special. That's I do what I can to create the most special thing and then give it to them. I just don't want to like release beer and whoever grab it. I just think like, yeah, this is, I consider this as something special, and I want you, Brian, to have it, and you have it more than somebody else. That's how I think about it. Uh, and it's, or maybe goes back to the community sense, in a way. It's just keep the, I don't know, the best within the family. Like you don't want to overshare. You share the best things with like the closest is family, and then friends, and on and on and on. And it's just how I think about it. But also, like, I want to have my beers to be a little more accessible at the same time, because I don't like the beer hunting, the trophy beers, the hype. I just don't agree with it. Even
Yeah,
though I find it like, if it happens that many times, it always ends up misused than I intend. It always ends up being hoarded in some cellar as a rare collectible, which is like what, and uh, and ends up being drunk on some 300 bottle share, and
yeah,
it's not gonna end up that you and the wife or friends just open a bottle on Sunday, or like, hey, this nice beer, wow, and whatever. It becomes this. And I understand the inaccessibility makes this, so it's a little conflicting.
yeah,
So also, like, to ultimately, I would like that my beers end up with people who like to drink them. That's it, drink them,
yeah.
not buying them. Although I appreciate the business, I ultimately, I want you to drink them, not just buy it. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I find it like, and also even though some beers they age well, I don't believe that everything. People think everything lasts forever, and usually the beers are not better like many years after. I mean, if you when I release it, it's already I consider it old enough because it spends like let's say 2+ years in barrels. If it's blend of 1, 2, 3 year beers, average age let's say maybe it's 2 years, and then sits like 6 months in a bottle. So basically, it's like 3 year old beer when you get it. Like how much? How many years do you want to wait for a beer? You
Yeah.
know, it should be It should be 4 week product, not 4 year product. When you think about it, a regular beer, it could
Yeah.
be made in a month. Just it's not even that slow. So it's just. I don't know. Just so I want to create this natural. I don't know. I want to make it as easy, but also like I don't want to. How to say? I don't want my beers to end up in places where they will not know what it is, and so I just choose my partners who distribute my beers carefully, and I'm very grateful with the partnership because they it's like it's not transactional again because it's about like they get my philosophy. We know each other as people, as person. It's not about like I give you something and I get the money because and it's nice because this business actually brings me in touch with so many like unique wonderful people from around the world. It could be distributors, or the people who help me distribute the beers somewhere else, meeting other brewers, or just fans. It's just so for this, I'm super grateful that.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, I'll let you go now because I've held it for an hour, and I'm sure you, like you said,
It's
you have to
okay.
run the
It's
whole
okay.
business yourself. But
I'm on dead holiday now.
but like it sounds like what you said, about the rarity because you're only producing 10,000. That I mean, you could honestly, you could probably charge quite a lot of money per bottle, but you don't. You
But
charge
I already do, don't I?
well. They're more expensive than maybe than a Heineken, for instance. Yes, but
No, of
they're
course, but
but I
I
think
would
you
say
could.
I'm not also like how to say I don't wanna like how to say undersell myself because I'm aware that my beers are good. It's just I know it, and it's just so. But also I need to run a business, and as much as I charge for, yeah, I don't want to like, I would, that's even like, I just had a conversation about it with somebody. Maybe I could charge a little bit more, but I don't want to, but I think I charge enough. I think I push the envelope I push it and I charge enough because I want to get rewarded and because I pour almost everything back into the business, and also for the people who like what I do, I say that's just like it helps me to build the vision for the brewery I have. So I'm not like a Cantillon, for example, that has been built and paid for maybe 100 years ago. It's just I started with nothing, really nothing, and in current economy and environment try to build something. It's super challenging, and the money is kind of money fix all the money problems, and to build a brewery, uh, the passion doesn't is not enough, so the money is kind of so I don't. I think fair. It should be always fair. So that's
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair price. Like, it's not the price that you could go out and buy, have 2 bottles a week or anything like that. That would be too expensive. But for what you do, I think it's fair. But what I think I was getting at is, I think it's a fair price. I think with your reputation, you probably could get more, which you obviously don't want to. It would go to the wrong people. So you could
maybe
charge.
exactly. I think it will foster the exact culture that I do not like to
Yeah,
promote. And lately, actually, it's like counterintuitive. I would rather reduce my prices to promote the better beer culture, drop the hype, game, and people say, oh, it's more available, so fuck that. I would say, great. It's like, but again, I go say I don't choose my customers, and I would rather. It's a like subtle balance, I need to know but again, I go say I don't choose my customers, and I would rather. It's a like subtle balance, I need to know how to get enough for myself and to feed I mean, the whole project feeds my family and helps me to build the beers, and it has never been more challenging. But I think I charge enough for the beers, and I think given how challenging and risky these beers are and how long it takes, then just I feel they are like still fair
Yep.
bang for the buck, but
Terrible phrase.
but I honestly I make them for myself.
Yeah. But
I I
I guess,
just so I would if I didn't make them, I would ideally want to buy beer like this. So this is the whole point.
okay.
So
Then
I would
I think
buy
what
it.
I was trying to get at was whether you saw, and I think maybe the answer is no now, that you saw almost part of your payment in that community, that you were building. Where, but maybe it's not because you're doing it for yourself and you just want the beers out, that the community is just a bonus, but you're not kind of
It's
consciously
both.
trading,
It's both because when you the same way this is same. I think it's both because before I had kids, you know, I how to say the same way before I had the community or like the fans. I was just main focus was only the beers and how they taste, for example, what I want to achieve and create. And the same way, like now I have the community and now I have kids, and whole my framework changes. I cannot not see it without it. And it's always when you hear the positive feedback and how people are so pleased about it. So it's like it's great to make people who are such a positively emotionally stirred with certain beers. So it's like like special the lager beers that people comment a lot, and they are the most challenging beer to make for me. The most notoriously hard to break even on or like make money on. Uh, the most risky, but like every time. So it's not only like you see like, oh, I like to make the beer for myself, but it's not justified enough for me to do it just now for myself because the risk and the uh, yeah, I mean all the troubles to produce it. But like, and I see lots of communities like, hey, here when you will make the lager beer again, it was the best lager beer I've had, and blah blah blah. So I would say it's not an ego thing. I feel like little obligation for the community to make you happy, because if you are happy, I am happy too. It's not we like exchanging the love, it's not the transaction again. It's just
yeah.
so now when I have the fans and I have the community, I cannot go back just to. I still
Just
make the beers for myself, but like you also give me feedback and how to say, yeah, you know what I mean. So just like, yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
you
So
it's now something bigger than you. It's now
imagine like back in the day we would be living in the same village and I would make every fall one beer, you really liked it, and you are waiting for the next year when I would make the batch beer, we would gather in the village and then celebrate it with the drink I made. And that's the sense of community that I long for. And maybe this is this kind of in this economy and internet age we live in, uh, is this fragmented way, but
yeah.
I want to create this. I think feel if people, yeah. Sometimes I feel lonely in this battle, so it's just good to connect with. It's very difficult to connect also even with brewers because I need other brewers in Belgium, United States, uh, Italy, in order to connect about the issues or
Right.
like the about things in life, because with the IPA brewer like in town I cannot, it's difficult to connect.
Okay.
If you know what I mean, even though we are brewers, it's very difficult to connect with some people, yes, some people to a degree, but usually So I would say it's good that we have the technology, the thing that connects us, and now we
Yeah,
talk through this technology. So I think it's a benefit, but ideally, I would love that we would be like, like
yeah, in
living
place,
in the same
drinking.
village and
Yeah,
make the beer from the what's growing around us, and celebrate it. So this. I long for this kind of old times, in a
yeah.
way, many times. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like to me that I have to start hope. I have to hope that it doesn't become too popular, this style of beer in the Czech Republic, because then you might not sell your beers outside again. You might just have your little community there.
No, and also like I value everybody who I feel like the people who stay from the beginning till now. I value it a lot. I feel that's just I also yeah. I mean maybe yeah. I honestly the people year over year who are with me keep buying the beers. I value it so much. It's just it feels special. It's just because as much as I value every random purchase or like you buy the membership or you don't, which is like totally fine, but like people who stay with you, it's rare,
Yeah.
because people come and go for various reasons. It's not personal, but people who keep staying, uh, it's special, honestly. So I believe it's special, and even though I have a small community, and then sometimes I wish it would be bigger, whatever, in a way, or like more local, or that we would talk more in a way. But just it's not that I'm so capable of like staying in touch over internet is challenging, but I'm super grateful for like the fans. It's that's good. That's another thing that like I make the beer and the product, but yeah, like being able to talk about people with people a little bit, or like connect every now and then and exchange few pleasant sentences, and or meeting each other at festivals sometimes, once a year or somewhere here and there. It's always a pleasure to meet people like that. And I've just when I was in Italy last month, it was very pleasant to meet people, or like new and familiar faces. And it's always like purely positive energy, which I like. So it's just so that's very rewarding in this sense. So goes beyond the business,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right.
So
Well, listen, that seems like a very positive note to finish on, I think. So listen, yeah, thanks again. By the way, like a lot of people, I think I'll be looking out for beers, hopefully coming soon.
no, I
Um,
will definitely the email when we finish chatting now. I'm typing the email that
okay.
you should receive. And yeah, I should try to stay more in touch with people. But yeah, I think the social media and everything is just stays connected. But I'm usually very busy, and I'm a I'm a boomer, when it comes to social media. So I yeah, connection with people, and beers are coming. There's so many beers scheduled to be released. I just do what I can uh, to streamline it, how to say, the output. So sometimes it's slower, but the beers have their own, how to say,
Their
uh,
own life.
own life, yeah, own time. So I don't want to rush it, and hopefully in the end you will like them. You write me how you like
I
your
will.
beer.
I will. I'll have to be like, I know you say drink them quickly and that, but I have to resist not
Oh, I
drinking
mean,
them all one night after the other. You know.
quickly means like maybe next year. I would say that's not too not too yeah, people like buy it, and then I don't know, especially with the lager beers that I just people treat it like gus, which is like, come on, like it's just drink it now. And I'm very generous with when it comes to what is it, best before, or like
Right.
the how by the window of. But yeah, people many times the beer fans wait too long to to
Fully
drink
agree.
them. So I generally try to encourage people, hey, come on, don't sit on it.
Yeah.
But you have got next 12 months before the new beers arrive, so or next 6 months, whatever. So then like open few bottles to see if you like it.
Yeah.
And I think it's tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So
No, it is. I mean, you hear people and they hoard something and then they're waiting for the special occasion, and sure,
it
special
never
occasion
came.
have come. Yeah. So
It never
take it
came.
now. All right, Yuri, I'll let you go. Thanks a million for geez, a huge amount of time. I didn't, especially for someone who's so busy and with a new child and all of that. So I really, really, really appreciate
It's
it.
been a pleasure, Brian, to talking to you, connecting with you, and yeah, so would love
Okay.
to. I would love to talk more in like next time. So
Okay. Well, we'll do it again sometime. All right. Thanks a million.
thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.